The last time we spoke with you was at the opening of the School of Medicine, and obviously this was a huge opening for Quinnipiac. This put the school on the map, didn't it?
No, it really did. There are prestigious business schools and journalism schools and law schools, but there are very few, only 150 medical schools in the country. Fewer than 100 universities in America out of 4,000 have both a medical school and a law school. So it really does put us into a very select group of the, not only a small group of universities, but the very best universities in America.
Now, when you opened this school, you tried to make it a little different from some other institutions out there. This isn't all about the grants here. This is about faculty. Why is that so important to you?
Well, it's consistent with our mission. I think everything we do, in every school we might add or new program, we do it consistent with our mission. We're not a large research-oriented university. Our focus is teaching. We want to educate our students and have our faculty members not off doing esoteric research in some distant land. We want them right here on campus, teaching our students in the classroom in small classes. So the teaching mission is very important for us. And of course, as you add graduate programs, whether it's a law school or master's in journalism or a medical school, you do a little more research, and the accrediting bodies require that. But still, even with a medical school, most of them are research oriented, but our commitment, very much consistent with our university mission, is to have it be a teaching institution. So the faculty that we've hired, really, I'm sure they'll do some research, but that will not be the big driver of their time and their energies. It will be to make sure we teach and educate and turn out the very best physicians who will be practicing medicine. In addition to that, we also are going to specialize to a greater degree in helping to hopefully educate and encourage more people to go into primary care medicine, which is desperately needed in this country. And again, the research universities, if they do at all train practitioners, it's mostly the specialty areas and the subspecialty areas. So the teaching mission of our medical school will be unique, consistent with our mission, and our emphasis on primary care, which will also tie in very much with our nurse practitioner program or doctor of nurse practice program and our various physician assistant programs. Educating all those together in the same classroom will be truly unique here at Quinnipiac.
So why is there that emphasis on primary care? Is that something that distinguishes you from other institutions, or is that thinking into more the climate that surrounds us today?
No, it does. I would say it does distinguish us, and somewhat uniquely. In the future, primary care medicine will be practiced by medical doctors, who primarily internists and family practitioners, but they'll also be assisted by nurse practitioners, doctor of nurse practice, and physician assistants. And Quinnipiac is one of the few universities that has a medical school that, in addition, has a school of nursing with nurse practitioners and doctor of nurse practice and physician assistant programs. In fact, we have the largest number of physician assistant students, not only a physician assistant generalist, we have a pathology assistant, radiology assistant, we just added a new anesthesiology assistant. So there are very few medical schools that have a school of nursing as well as a school of health sciences. So we're, I think, uniquely positioned to bring those three professions together, educate them together, with the hope that if they study and learn together here on the Quinnipiac campus, they'll hopefully practice together as a team, very much the way the healthcare industry wants them to practice in the future.
And I mean, we're talking about a school here where more than 30% of the students are health science majors. What's been that feedback that you've gotten so far in these first few months of this new school?
Oh, it's been tremendous. I think, we've had a long tradition. Maybe we didn't have a medical school up until just this past year, but we're not new to health. I used to say, Quinnipiac trains every medical professional that you would run into and have contact with in a hospital or healthcare facility, with the exception of an MD. And now, I must say, in all honesty, I can claim that Quinnipiac literally educates all the healthcare professionals, the nursing profession, the healthcare, the allied health professional programs, as well as MD. And in that sense, we're one of really a handful, literally, of schools that will do that. And even those that might have those programs, again, they're typically in more research-oriented universities. They're not training practitioners who are going to work together in the healthcare field. So we really did build the medical school on top of an awful lot of expertise and resources. And when you look at our facilities on the North Haven campus, even before we added the medical school and opened this September, the resources that we had in our School of Nursing and our School of Health Sciences were second to none and enormous resources. But then when you layer on top of that, and in conjunction with the medical school resources, our Center for Medicine, Nursing, and Health Sciences is a truly unique facility and a truly unique group of resources and faculty and staff.
So you mentioned all those combining factors that make up this program, that make up this school. Would you say that this Netter School of Medicine is the pride and joy of Quinnipiac right now?
Well, everything's my pride and joy here at Quinnipiac. So I've been here for 27 years now, and I'm proud of really the cumulative changes that have occurred at Quinnipiac during that time period. And we were only 1,900 students back then in 1987, and now we're almost 9,000 students. We were all undergraduates. Now we have almost 2,500 graduate students. I watched communications, your field. It was a department with about 50 students back in 1987 as a department within College of Arts and Sciences. Now it's a standalone school with almost 1,500 students, undergraduate and graduates. I've watched our nursing program go from a single nursing program into a separate school of nursing. We didn't have an education program. We started that, and now we have a very highly respected school of education. Of course, we acquired a law school back in 1992, and we've recently added a medical school and an engineering school. I've watched our athletic programs grow from Division II to literally this past year, our men's ice hockey playing for the national championship before a national audience on ESPN. So there's a lot that's occurred at Quinnipiac over the past 27 years, and if I would use the analogy of a family, and if I'm the father, I'm very proud of all those children and all those areas that have grown and developed, and I wouldn't single out any one there. But cumulative effect, I have enormous pride and satisfaction in seeing that growth and development at Quinnipiac.
Well, you mentioned all that growth, those changes, and there's no doubt that these past 27 years or so have been incredibly successful. But let's talk a little bit about what's ahead for Quinnipiac. Now, the last time we spoke to you over in North Haven, we were talking about the new school, and you said that there were plans in development for this campus as well, the Mount Carmel campus. That includes the law school, which you were basically the binary force there propelling that forward. What are some things that students should expect to be seeing in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years with this Mount Carmel campus?
Well, right now we have under construction on the North Haven campus where the location will be for our new School of Law. And we'll be moving that School of Law there this summer. Beginning this September, it will be on the North Haven campus. And the good news for undergraduates and for the Mount Carmel campus, that'll free up the law center that's on this campus, which is 135,000. Yeah, it's more than the Lender School of Business
the library
and the
itself too?
Exactly. All of that will be moved to the North Haven campus. So our plan is, as you well know, communications and business in the same building, and that building isn't adequate for either one of them. And now we've added a new engineering program at the undergraduate level. So our plan is to, once the law school leaves, we'll do some renovations for that building on this campus, and we'll be moving our communications program, including the communication studios, building new studios in the law center building, and we'll be developing engineering programs as well. So engineering and the School of Communications will share that building, which will, again, when you think of communications now, they have half a 40,000 square foot building. They'll end up with 3 times that space in the new center here. And then business school, of course, will benefit because as communication moves out, they'll be able to get the entire school, Lender School of Business Center. So all 3 of those undergraduate programs will benefit enormously from the law schools moving from this campus to there. And also the law school is going to benefit. It is a graduate program, and they're developing a health law specialty. So to put the law school and the graduate students from the law school on the same campus with the medicine, nursing, and health sciences, education students, all graduate students, I think will make for a much better climate, environment, and supportive area for them as well.
Now, I noticed you said studios when referring to the School of Communications. There's plans for more than one studio to go in that brand new building?
You know, I don't even know. You should check with your dean and Sal Filardi at this stage. We will certainly replicate everything that we currently have in the Ed McMahon Mass Communication Center and the related areas that support it. What, in addition, we will be adding to that, I'll be very interested to see. I was here at the birth of that center, and we opened that facility in 1992. And I can imagine you study it as your discipline, but the changes that have happened in communications during the past 20 years have been so dramatic. My guess is we'll have a lot more multimedia and computer-driven kinds of technology in the new center, and so I can't tell you specifically. I'm certain that whatever Lee Camlet and the faculty in communications, working with our facilities people, design, I'm sure it will be state-of-the-art equipment and facilities that make sense for today and of course the future of journalism and communications as it develops.
And staying with that, this communications field is growing constantly. New positions are always being created, whether it's in social media, whether it's in the journalism field, even though unfortunately that is going down a little bit. But do you think that the proper amount of emphasis is being put on that here at Quinnipiac, on that communications field? Because there's almost 20% of the majors here are feeding into that Ed McMahon School of Communications. Do you feel that the proper emphasis is being put into that? Because you guys just over the past few years spent a lot of money renovating that building itself. And now, while it's great that it's going to be sent into the other building and the school of business is going to be flowing right in, doesn't that almost seem like a lost allocation of funding in that case?
No, we've been, we opened that building with the communications center with Ed McMahon literally being here with Murray Lender, as I remember like it was yesterday. We had the best technology and the best facilities there. We've made major upgrades to that over the years. I can remember we went from that to high definition digital equipment. I can remember the computers that we used and for the graphics. The Apple seemed to be the better at the time. I mean, we will be turning over technology as we do on this campus in all areas every 3 or 4 years. So, that's the nature of communications in any business that's driven by technology. So we're really not. We're probably, our cameras and facilities over there, my guess is it's probably time to get some new facilities and new equipment. And, again, it's a dynamic field and talking about journalism, I think there's going to be a great need for journalists. I think the medium is going to change, obviously, and that's driven, largely by advertising and the cost of, hard print and all the rest. But, there's so much information out there today. I don't feel you as a young person that, in comparison to when I was your age, and but there's so much information out there, but it's to a significant degree unfiltered, and I think having serious communications professionals, journalists, be able to at least filter and analyze and at least put in context some of the information that's out there so that we'll be able to differentiate what's just, a lot of hot air that someone has on their blog or their Facebook or Twitter or whatever from what's serious truth about, important issues that journalism needs to cover. So I think the field is certainly changing, and that will create some challenges. But I think the need for communication professionals and journalists, I think, will actually be even greater in the years ahead.
Right, and you just talked about all these changes in regards to the academics. Well, we also spoke to you at the MAAC Hall of Fame over in Springfield to start this year. Let's make that transition now into athletics, because this year, and dating back to even last year too, some unprecedented success for the Quinnipiac Bobcats. First off, I'm going to ask you this. New conference, are you pleased with what you're seeing so far, not just athletically, but academically as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I knew when we selected the MAAC, we had other options because we knew the quality of the academic institutions, and that hasn't changed. My guess would be they'll even get stronger. To have Fairfield as our in-state rival, it's a great Jesuit institution with a great tradition in both academics, obviously, and athletics. I think the Manhattans that I own of the world will get us particularly into New York City. Siena and Canisius, another Jesuit school. These are great academic institutions. And I must say, our early success in athletics, I couldn't be happier with it. Our field hockey team won our first MAAC championship and played in the NCAAs. I reminded Becca that she won the first Division I championship at the NEC when we joined the NEC. So I may have to change conference every year to make sure she gets a win. And of course, the men's soccer just won the MAAC championship, and we'll be playing UConn in the NCAAs, I think, this Thursday. So to get 2 early wins in a brand new conference, that clearly is a step up for us athletically. And it typically takes a few years as you move into a better athletic conference. You attract and recruit better athletes, but it usually takes a couple of recruiting seasons. I think the early indications are Quinnipiac was very much as competitive as possible. And so I think I'm very happy with the MAAC conference, and both in terms of the quality of academic institutions and the competition and our early success.
Now, you mentioned those schools in that New York area. Was that a huge appeal for you?
Absolutely. I mean, New York is the communications capital of the world. It's the finance capital of the world, and news in New York is national news. And and we get the highest percentage of our students actually from the state of New York. So this conference both has a big presence in New York City, which is very important for us, but it also has a presence throughout the New York, upstate New York, Canisius and Buffalo and Niagara, and as well as into New Jersey. So it very much overlaps with our recruiting market. Also, the MAAC has a very strong relations with ESPN, so we will have a number of our games on ESPN in addition to Madison Square Garden and the other Nessons that we normally have our teams broadcast on.
Obviously, the conference change is the most significant thing that happened, but some other changes are happening as well with athletics. The new scoreboards at the arena have added a whole new aspect of entertainment to these games. It's given it more of an arena feel, but that's also not the only facility change that's going to be undergoing in the next few years. Now, this past summer, Quinnipiac settled its Title IX lawsuit, and in that settlement, some new changes were made, such as more money being allocated towards women's athletics here, new locker rooms, new facilities. Can you talk a little more in depth on what students should expect to see?
Sure. They're really, I'm thrilled that the Title IX is behind us, because it really froze us in place from doing many of the things that we're planning on doing over the next 3 or 4 years. These are things we were thrilled to do and were excited about doing many years ago. But we went through the 2008-9 financial crisis that a lot of people forget. We had to make some serious cuts. We froze salaries, froze operating budgets, and we had to make some cuts, and we tried to make as few as possible in the academic area, and we made a number in the athletic area. Including eliminating several men's sports and yes, a women's sport as well that unfortunately we got sued over. But I think you will see, particularly for our sports of emphasis, improvements. We have before planning and zoning right now. Our plans are to cross Hogan Road to take the field that we've been using for field hockey and lacrosse, men's and women's lacrosse, and that's going to get changed to an artificial field, but more like natural grass. I'm not sure what it's even called, but it's the more common thing that's used. And we're going to be moving both our lacrosse for men's and women's and for soccer men's and women's on that field. Then we're going to, the grass area there across Hogan Road, we're going to build the flat surface artificial field for field hockey. So all 5 of those sports will have the very best facilities up there. Also, in the area where we have the turf natural surface, artificial surface, we'll build some stands, permanent stands, some locker rooms and facilities there. So we'll be able to accommodate students and much nicer rather than just standing around a fence and looking at a game. So that'll be a big improvement. Those things, moving the soccer to across Hogan Road, both for men's and women's, will free up the field that they use, and we'll be able to use that for rugby and some more intramural activities, and hopefully will, in that process, improve baseball also. We're also going to be on the York Hill campus. We'll be adding a new track and field and auditorium and recreation center up there that will support our men's and women's track, and but will also provide some recreational facilities for the 1,500 students we have living on the York Hill campus. So all of those things, while they're being done in part in conjunction with the Title IX, they're really all those activities are going to benefit both men's and women's athletics and really upgrade our facilities. Although I must say our basketball facility for men's and women's on the York Hill campus is, as we entered the MAAC, the best facilities in the MAAC conference. So it's not like we didn't have great facilities already, but clearly we are adding to and improving them still further.
Now, you mentioned that you're going to be raising the area where lacrosse plays as well. Now, that is a spring sport. Is that going to be happening during this winter? Is that going to be happening down the line?
It should have already started. It's been delayed at planning and zoning. So we've had some neighbors in the area have raised some questions about lighting on the fields and noise, and we're working through those, but it delayed it. We have to go back for one more meeting, I believe, and hopefully it will be approved. So I'm not sure in the timetable. We're hoping to have the field ready for this coming next fall. I have a feeling that's probably going to be delayed, so I can't give you the exact
Right.
time.
But it
table there.
won't be ready though for the spring though. So what's going to happen with the lacrosse teams that are supposed to play there?
They'll play on the same field that they've been playing for the last 10 years. And,
So the
we're not
renovation
gonna
would not
change
start
that.
until
Right,
after
yeah,
the season.
exactly.
So after the lacrosse season
Exactly.
actually starts.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood on that. Now you mentioned the other facilities here on the Mount Carmel campus. You said that the soccer field is going to be turned into the rugby field, sport of emphasis there with rugby national prowess as well. Now, what happens with the baseball and softball facilities? Are those going to remain there?
Softball will remain completely, sure. I believe baseball will stay there, but I think we'll be able to improve the outfield and the area there. Longer term, we are looking at some options off campus. I don't want to mention what they are right now, but I think trying to put a baseball field with appropriate lighting and stands and support in the middle of a field of that kind really doesn't work very well. So there are some fields not far from where we sit right now that if we were able to work with the town and to agree for us to use them as well as the current uses that they have, and for us to invest some money in dugouts and lighting and improvements in the field, I hope there's an opportunity in the years to come that we can really create a much better baseball diamond and facility that will support our team, and will also, I think, free up even more space on the campus right now. But for now, the baseball will be played there this spring, and it will be an improvement, I hope, in terms of the outfield.
You've just handed us a ton of changes that are going to be happening all around this university. And with all these different changes comes the need for funding for those changes. Where exactly is this funding going to be coming from? Is this going to be coming from the tuition increases that we've seen? I mean, tuition's increased by 27% since 2008, 2009. Is that coming from that? Is this coming from private donors? Where is it?
Well, like most of the things we do, it will be a combination. We are doing fundraising. There are clearly people, particularly in the athletics area, who would like to provide some additional support. Just one example, the naming opportunity for the TD Bank Sports Center. That was actually a 10-year naming opportunity. Most of the other gifts that you receive in college and universities for naming for buildings, they're in perpetuity. In athletics, because of what the professional athletics have done, it's for a limited time period. So we had that naming opportunity. It's actually 7 years in the process, so we have 3 more years. We believe we will be able to get a new gift for that. That will be an 8-figure gift of some significance. Our success, certainly on the hockey side of that arena, is not insignificant. We also have a term limit on the naming of the High Point Solution Arena. So there are opportunities for us in the athletics fundraising area to significantly pay for the fields without using any tuition increases going forward.
The word that I want to emphasize there is off campus, because that is a word that's been in the news a lot lately around here at Quinnipiac. Now, a press release was sent out, a message from the administration was sent out about some of the issues that some off-campus houses are having with their surrounding neighbors, students hosting parties that are having police come and break them up. This problem seemingly would start with New Haven, because it's no stranger to anyone's knowledge that New Haven has its dangerous parts of it, and the police over there would probably prefer students staying out of those dangerous areas. So a lot of those students take this back to off-campus housing. But if they're going to be threatened with being kicked off campus potentially, what exactly are students supposed to do around here? Because, I mean, for at least someone who's under 21, there really isn't all that much for them to do to keep themselves occupied.
No, I think you're right, and we're sensitive to that. I think the issues that we have from time to time with students living in the community. I mean, we have 5,000 beds on our campus, and we have about 6,300 undergraduates. So there are about 1,300 students that we're not accommodating, and we do have in the works to build another senior type Eastview kind of building up on York Hill. That's in the planning stages right now, and probably will accommodate another 200 seniors. But there still will be probably 1,000 students who will not be living on campus. Most of those students are going to live off campus. Many of them have jobs, many of them have clinical affiliations, internships, and they're mostly seniors who have lived in university housing with the restrictions that go along with that for 3 years. And they're 21 and they're older, they're about to graduate, and so I don't think that's an unhealthy thing at all. Obviously, some people in the neighborhood, if you live in close proximity to those students, yes, from time to time they can be noisy and cause some disruptions. But I've watched this for the past 27 years and really for the past 10 years. Actually, the incidents that we have with students causing problems are very, very few. They almost always occur in September, October, when the weather's still nice and they're outside in their area. I will say Whitney Avenue is a particularly worrisome area for me because I can remember 10 or 12 years ago when we had students seriously injured, hit by cars. We've had some traffic fatalities in and around that area in the past. That's the reason why we started the shuttle service about 10 or 12 years ago. And knock on wood, since we've started that, we have not had fatalities or any serious injuries of any kind. We also Whitney Avenue there, because of the heavy traffic, we have purchased a lot of the houses there and have either knocked them down, as we have in some cases, or they're sitting empty. We're not going to allow undergraduates to live there. The incidents that just occurred in the past couple of weeks were in 3 houses. And they're the only 3 houses. If you go from Ives Street all the way up to Mount Carmel on that side of on the east side of Whitney Avenue, there are only 3 houses that we don't own. And those are the 3 houses where they had the problems. And they're privately owned houses. I drive by them all the time. I assume they're all illegal in terms of planning and zoning because I drive by. You're only allowed to have maximum 4 unrelated people in a house. The one I can almost name them, 3135 or whatever it is, has 8 cars every day when I drive by it. So, I mean, you can assume maybe an occasional boyfriend or girlfriend, but every day you'd have to assume there are more living in there. And the town is aware of that, and we're certainly cooperative, and we're hoping that they'll be able to crack down on the private landlords. I mean, we really can't do anything. Now, if the students are throwing a party there and they're serving alcohol to underage students, running an illegal bar effectively, I think students know we have disciplined students, thrown them out not only of housing but the university for doing those kinds of things. And we haven't had any for a couple of years, and every 4 years the problem is you got a whole new student body completely that you have to re-educate. So I think the town-gown relations actually between Quinnipiac and the town of Hamden are actually pretty good right now. These 3 incidents were unfortunate. Unfortunately, we didn't have serious injuries happen, but I met with the mayor, Jackson, and the police commissioner and the fire commissioner on this very topic just a couple of weeks ago. So we're on top of it, and we're very much on the same page and on the same side of this. And we want students to to live but be responsible and safe in their environment. And the overwhelming majority, John, of Quinnipiac students are. Unfortunately, you have a few outliers that cause some problems, and I think when it happens, the media blows it up and it makes it seem like it's an everyday occurrence. But it really is improved significantly over the years. But obviously, we still have some work to do with these 3 remaining houses on Whitney Avenue.
So the email that was sent out essentially threatened that anyone who was caught throwing a party and the cops had to come, whatever it may be, would be kicked out of the university. Is this something that you are vigilant against? Because what happens when someone throws a party, it's relatively contained, and then all of a sudden it gets out of hand due to someone else's doings? Are they going to get kicked out of the university for that?
I've been involved in years past where a house was effectively running an illegal bar, where they had 200 or 300 undergraduate students, underage students, in the house. They were selling cups for $5 or $10, and then it's all you can drink, and thinking that they're not selling alcohol, they're only selling cups. And they're putting our students at risk, undergraduate students who are walking on those streets and who are not legal of legal drinking age. We in the past have thrown those students out of the university. I've testified. We've been sued over it. I've actually testified in Bridgeport and in court in connection with it, and we won those cases. In the current situation, Mark Thompson now, I promoted him to Executive Vice President, Provost, and Chief Operating Officer. He's directly involved with that now. So I can't tell you whether the recent incidents fit that same pattern, but I would be surprised if the numbers that I heard of 200 or 300 people at a house. It's hard to see how you're inviting your best friends and close relatives to watch a football game and it ends up 300 people. So my expectation would be, as Mark and the judicial process reviews those things, if the owners of that house, it's documented that they sent out notices to people that they were selling these cups and allowing people to drink underage, they will be, they're doing something illegal, and they clearly will be dismissed from the university.
So what exactly should undergrads be encouraged to do here? Because a lot of times universities like getting people involved in organizations, and as someone who runs an organization, I often find it hard to draw students because our meetings have to be so late at night due to classes that run into 9:15, and our numbers do dwindle because of that. What should undergrads, or in this case, anyone under 21 especially, be encouraged to do here in this area? You mentioned that you guys own all of Whitney Avenue, essentially. Is that going to become a developed space of land for Quinnipiac?
Yeah, well, and I think, again, I do admit that we need to do more, to have more activities, more healthy activities, and enjoyable activities for our students here, particularly on the weekends. And certainly, based on the athletic conferences and the games that I've seen, we certainly do that on a Friday and Saturday night when we're having hockey games. Plenty of students are here. Clearly, we've opened a new Ireland's Great Hungry Museum as something that they can visit. We do hope to develop along that Whitney Avenue strip more cultural facilities and activities. We hope to put a theater there that would be a theater for our theater program here, but also could be used for outside groups to perform theater. So the recreational facilities that we're going to add on York Hill, all these are attempts on the part of the university to have more activities available on this campus so our students can stay here in much safer environments. But again, students are going to want to go off campus. They're going to want to go to New York or Boston. That's one of the attractive features of Quinnipiac. We're sitting here between Boston and New York. And New Haven has some activities, and students go there when we run shuttle services. So I certainly think we can do more, but yes, whatever we can do to allow students to have more things going on here of a cultural nature, of an entertainment nature, and certainly the sports programs have helped to some degree with that, but we clearly have more to do.
Just a few more, and this one kind of ties into what we just discussed. You mentioned that there's plans for more housing up on York Hill for seniors. Now, a lot of the senior housing that's available right now doesn't include a meal plan, doesn't include some other amenities that some seniors might feel necessary, myself included. As someone who spends almost all his time devoted to this television station on this main campus, I need that outlet of a meal plan. And now, because there weren't enough spaces on York Hill, I can't live on York Hill next year, and I have to live without a meal plan. Why is that exactly?
Well, that's a very good question, and maybe Mark Thompson could answer it better than I can. I don't know why some meal plan shouldn't be available to all students, whether living on campus or off campus. It is true we tie the meal plans into housing, and it's priced in a variety of different ways. But the facilities that we'll be building for seniors on York Hill will be single rooms, which they want. We'll have dining facilities there. It will have air conditioning. So we certainly attempt to make these things as attractive as possible. We talk to students to see what they want. I mean, we literally redesigned some of the earlier designs up there for the residence halls just with seniors in mind. And so it's a good question. I would encourage you to talk with Mark Thompson and see why we can't accommodate meal plans for students that are not living on the campus here.
Well, let's talk about Mark Thompson now. You served as Executive Vice President of Marist before coming here in 1987.
Good memory. You've done your homework.
Oh, yes. And you know what? Marist is going to be a school that's going to be involved with the MAAC, and it'll be all these great tie-ins. But you served as Executive Vice President, and you created this position for Mr. Thompson. Why did you feel the need to create such a position for him?
Well, you know, over the years, the role of the president of a university requires you to do a certain amount of work internally, strengthening the academic programs, student organizations and facilities and all that. But a university president also has to spend a considerable amount of time off campus, raising money in particular and marketing the institution and helping get the brand known and dealing with political figures and board of trustees and all those sorts of things. So I think when a new president, certainly when I came here 27 years ago, I probably spent maybe 2/3 of my time internally, getting to know the institution and strengthening the areas that I thought needed to be strengthening, and then the other third was external relations. And it's not unusual for a president as they move along in their tenure. And keep in mind, I'm one of the longest serving presidents in America. The average tenure for a university president is between 6 and 7 years. So I'm really the exception. But I think at this stage now, Quinnipiac has really had most of its growth. We're not going to add a fourth campus, I can tell you that. Our enrollment now is just under 9,000. Over the next 5 years, as our engineering school at the undergraduate grows, we'll add another 400 students there. As our medical school grows at the graduate level, we'll add another 500 students there, or 440 more. So that'll get us to 10,000, and that's where we're going to be. We'll have 7,000 full-time undergraduates, 3,000 graduate students roughly. So, and we've had tremendous growth. We've added almost $1 billion when you think about it over the past 20 years in new facilities. We've added almost $400 million worth of facilities to develop the York Hill campus. We're just finishing up over $200 million worth of construction on the North Haven campus. And we've done about $400 million on this campus. So you're not going to see that kind of addition. There'll be a building here, a building there, but so I think the timing is good in my point of view for me to spend even less time internally and even more time externally. So I created a position for Mark, and I moved. He was already the chief academic officer, but I moved facilities and public safety and IT under him. So he really has most of the internal operations now of the university under his area. He still reports to me, so I'm not 100% removed from it. But and he's a very capable, very able guy. He was obviously our dean of business school. I promoted him to chief academic officer. So I have a lot of confidence in Mark's ability and trust him. And he has the same vision, shares the same vision I do. And so the other thing that's happened during this period of time, as Quinnipiac has become better known, the opportunities now external are tremendous. I mean, our endowment was back 27 years ago was under $5 million. Today it's $340 million. I really believe over the next 10 to 15 years, as we approach our 100th anniversary in 2029, which again is from planning purposes, not that far, 15 years. I think we can get to $1 billion endowment and put us in a very exclusive club. But that's going to take a lot more time and energy off campus, raising money, getting more trustees to come to the campus. So I think the best use of my time now for the next period is to spend even more time externally, taking advantage of the opportunities that, if I tried that, if I spent 75% of my time externally 10 years ago, it wouldn't have been productive use of my time. But now it is. So that is pretty much why I promoted Mark, created the position, both because I have confidence that he can do an even more effective job having all those areas and focusing 100% of his time internally, and I can spend more time externally.
So you mentioned you're one of the longest tenured presidents here in the country, and you seem to have a lot of confidence in Mr. Thompson's abilities. Do you ever say to yourself, I think it's time to step down, I think it's time to retire, take a step back?
Sure, I think, yes, I think about those things. I don't have an exact time, although obviously I talk with the personnel committee of the board and they have some general sense. But I'll be around for the next 4 or 5 years at least. And during that time, not only I think will you see the effects of my creation and the appointment of Mark Thompson to that position, I think you'll see there are a number of other senior management people who will be retiring over the next couple of years, and I want to put in place a senior management team. One of the reasons we've been successful at Quinnipiac is it's not just that I've been here for 27 years, but when you think Manny Carrero just retired this past year, Pat Healy is still here, and they were both here when I arrived, so they've spent more than years. So we've had a management team with a lot of stability, most of whom have been here for the past 15 or more years, and there's no substitute for that. If you have senior management, let alone a president coming in every 5 or 6 years, you can't have an impact in that short a period of time. An organization, to really dramatically change it as we have at Quinnipiac and to really transform it into a major national university, you have to be here for the long run and have to make a long-term commitment. So I think you'll see over the next 4 or 5 years, you'll still see John Lahey as president during that time period, but I think you'll see us be adding replacement of additional senior management team. And I think, in that time period, I think we'll be in a position hopefully to have, new leadership and not a single just new leadership, but a team of new leaders at the senior management who will take Quinnipiac, and as much transformation and growth and progress as we've made, I think we're just scratching the surface. I really believe Quinnipiac University is going to take off and be widely recognized.
So how high can it go?
I think it can be, among the top, 50 universities in America. I think, and you look at the medical school already, the success of the athletic our hockey program. You look at the Polling Institute and the recognition that's received. And again, I still think we're a well-kept secret. I know when I bring people to the campus here, and we had a bunch of alums who were here this past weekend for homecoming, some of them hadn't been here in 20 years. Their mouths are still probably open. I mean, they're just, hearing about it, reading about it in publications, and coming to the campus here, going up to the TD Bank Sports Center and watching a basketball game and a hockey the same day. Weekend. Again, 25 years ago, I mentioned at the alumni event, I said, I don't know who we were playing on homecoming weekend 25 years ago, but I can tell you it wasn't Harvard and Dartmouth. But I think that's just started. And I think there's almost no limit to Quinnipiac. But clearly, the best universities have much larger endowments than we have. I mean, at $340 million, we're about the 223rd largest endowment. So to get into the top 50 or even the top 100, we need to get to the $1 billion threshold. And really, that's the difference. To be a great university, you have to attract and retain the best faculty endowed chairs. Will do that. You have to attract and retain the best students, and endowed scholarships for students will help with that. And so I think that's where you'll see Quinnipiac continue to elevate in the eyes of the higher education community. And I think the philanthropic opportunities, and we've seen this with the medical school, it's not by surprise. I mean, we have a brand new medical school. We've only had it a year. We got an 8-figure gift, the largest single gift in the history of the university, for a school that is what, 2.5 months old. So it gives you a sense of how, when you elevate the academic profile of the institution, how the philanthropic donors view you in a different light.
One last question for you. You've been here 27 years. You came here in 1987, and as you mentioned in the very beginning of this interview, a lot of things have changed. When you look back at all those years, what would you say your legacy has been?
Oh, I don't know. I'll let someone else try to figure that out. But I will say, obviously there are a lot of individual things that have happened about which I'm very proud. But I would say the single biggest thing, and it goes back to the long tenure, not only of my long tenure, but the senior management team. We have literally transformed the university from a college that was a very good college, but a very small, local, Connecticut, 80% of its students from Connecticut, and at best a New England school. We literally transformed a small old institution into a major national university in a 25-year period of time. I mean, and again, all the different things, whether it's academic achievements, new schools, new programs, athletic success, the polling, all those things were certainly part of it. But for me, the transforming of a university into a major national university of the stature that Quinnipiac has now. I could have gone to another university of long standing, Harvard or Yale or Wesleyan or Amherst, and I could have spent 25 years there, I wouldn't have transformed that place. They already are where they want to be. They basically want a president to come in and just double or triple the endowment so there's even more resources for them. But the opportunity to come here at a smaller institution that had, I think, enormous potential, obviously, and to be able to devote, a good chunk of your professional life to it and see it transformed into a university that you as students and alumni and parents and trustees and donors are enormously proud of. It's very gratifying, and you don't always get those opportunities to really have that opportunity to truly transform an organization. So to have had that opportunity, and I have learned in 27 years you're only as good as your next achievement. So I don't look back very often. So I'm not as worried about my legacy. Right now I'm focused on the next couple of years, and we still have some gifts that we want to receive and some programs to strengthen and expand. And so I'm very excited about the next several years and what's on my plate during that period.
President Lahey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, John. I appreciate everything you're doing. Q30, as I said, is my favorite station.